Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I am here with one of beVisioneers Advisory Council members, Bilha Ndirangu, and we are thrilled to be speaking to her today to find out why she is joining us in this journey and a little bit more about what she is doing and what her hard work is committing to the planet. So, Bilha, thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your schedule. We really, really appreciate us. Would you like to begin by just telling our audience who you are, what you do, and what drives your commitment to the planet?
Fantastic. So my name is Bilha Ndirangu. I wear several hats, but in the process of this conversation, I am a co-founder of a nonprofit called Jacob's Ladder Africa that's seeking to drive the intersection between climate change and African youth and see what and catalyze jobs in the green economy for the African youth. Secondly, the CEO of Great Carbon Valley, a project developer that's looking to make the East African region a hub for direct air capture and carbon removals. And so to your question around my interest in climate is a defining question or a defining challenge of our generation. And for us, or at least for me, it's both of a personal challenge, but at the same time, looking to see what is the role of young people in making a difference as far as climate is concerned and being part of the climate conversation and debate.
Absolutely. I mean, your work is with Jacob's Ladder is very much aligned with what we're doing here at beVisioneers. And I love what you mentioned in your values in Jacob's Ladder, especially Umoja. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but could you
Yes.
maybe tell our audience a little bit more about, that value of Umoja?
So umoja is a Swahili word that means oneness or unity. And part of the reason we really believe in this value is the fact that we cannot do anything as individuals. It's important that we all come together collectively, especially around common goals or common visions. And at the end of the day, recognizing that we need each other. No, each person is not sufficient to do what they need, to do it by themselves. But when you bring cohesiveness and togetherness, each person is able to play their role. And that way you're actually able to really get an interesting, fuller picture, as it were. And so this question around how do we encourage cohesiveness? How do we encourage oneness, especially around, rallying people around common values, common goals, and giving everyone a chance to play their role. So not everyone has to come in and do exactly what the other person is doing. But if we're all pulling towards the same direction, then I think we have a chance to solve some of the problems that we're looking to solve globally.
Absolutely. I mean, I just love that word. It was actually mentioned in a couple of our applications from our fellows and beVisioneers. I think Umoja and Ubuntu as well. They're both words that were mentioned in terms of how people are motivated and what values they stand behind. So thank you for sharing that, Bilha. It's appreciated. So what makes you optimistic about our planet and the future of our planet?
Young people. When I think about the latent potential that's stored in them and the potential that we could actually unleash, the ability for us to unleash that potential makes me realize, I can actually be hopeful about the planet. Yes, of course, there's lots of negative things going around. There's lots of different things. When you think about even the climate problem in particular, it's easy to look at that and be quite, feel quite gloomy about the future. But when you speak to young people and the energy they exhibit and the hopefulness and the can-do attitude, as it were, gives me a lot of hope. And I think when I think about beVisioneers and what we're trying to do with this program, it's really taking in and harnessing the power of the young people and that potential and saying, we can put this potential into good use and actually use it to begin to solve some of the problems or some of the challenges that are facing us into the future. So yes, there's a lot of problems to be worried about, but again, we have this amazing group of young people that have lots of potential, lots of energy. And so if harnessed right and given the right opportunities, then I think we have some sort of hope at saving the planet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as someone who suffers from climate anxiety, definitely from time to time, reading these applications for our first cohort was so inspiring. And it's actually young people we should be looking to and the hope that they have and the creativity behind their projects. It's just pretty mind-blowing, and you can't help but feel a lot more positive when you speak to these young people. So totally agree with you on that. And I love what you mentioned about in the previous question about harnessing the power of collaboration, because that's definitely something we want to foster at beVisioneers. Not one person's going to have the answer, and there's so much of a learning exchange between all of the fellows as well as the fellows and us, and we can't wait to learn from them and for them to learn from each other. Why have you committed your time and energy to supporting beVisioneers and its mission?
In many ways, beVisioneers pretty much aligns with a lot of things that are really important to me and things that I see are critical for us to build, the future that we're looking for. So one, it's focused on young people. As I said, young people give me hope for the future. Secondly, it's focused on climate, which is, as I said, a defining challenge of our generation, and the fact that we need to build, to do a lot about it. And then thirdly, it's entrepreneurship. And so it's this idea of combining young people, giving them the agency to believe and to know that they can make a difference in climate, while at the same time solving for climate and creating jobs. Creating jobs and livelihoods. So it's this intersection of climate problem solving and bringing young people and giving them an opportunity to build jobs, to create jobs and build businesses that I think is really exciting.
Yeah, and obviously you've been a real pioneer in that space in Africa, being the CEO of Great Carbon Valley and the co-founder of Jacob's Ladder, and the first Kenyan female CEO of the African Leadership Academy. So we're incredibly lucky to have you join us on this journey. Thank you so much. And I do just want to, let you know that I had the opportunity to review some of the South African applications this year, and we were blown away by them. Yeah. Particularly, there was a couple of applications from young females that were just out of this world and really, really stood out to me. So when it comes to, you've worked a lot with youth in your current projects, what's the key piece of advice that you would give to aspiring young planet positive innovators?
Lots of things. But one is to honestly believe in themselves, because I know sometimes you're kind of coming up with an idea and it's a new space. No one has really done some of these things before. So, and sometimes there's you do feel like you have to do something that people understand or something that's been seen before. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for us to really solve some of the challenges that are impacting us, there will be need for solutions that don't exist today. And there has to be someone who's brave enough to bring them on board. And that's part of the reason I'm excited about beVisioneers, because hopefully it begins to give a chance for these sorts of solutions to find life. So one is just that idea to believe in themselves and to not be afraid to go into the unknown and explore things that haven't necessarily been seen, because we do need that. Secondly, it's this thinking around, to the extent that you can find the right mentorship. And I know sometimes it's not always, it's not always available. But again, for the participants, for example, in beVisioneers, I think it's really taking advantage of all the resources that are given to you. And it's not just the monetary resources, which are important, but who are the advisors? Who can you reach out to? Who has done something before that could be interesting? What doors can they open for you? How do they help you build a business? Or how do they help you build a team? So being very open to identifying the right advisors and taking in advice, I think will save you a lot of pain as you go along. And then just this aspect of collaboration, again, just going back to this Umoja concept, it's this thinking around, there's lots of people globally that are looking to solve the same problems. You might not necessarily be doing the same exact thing, but there's something to be said for learning, hearing about them. And again, we live in an era where technology allows us to connect a lot better than we used to connect. And then again, kind of going back to, potential fellows in beVisioneers, you then have this cohort of people that are doing different things, but all working towards the same goal, which is solving for climate and the green economy. So just speaking to each other, trying to learn from each other, growing and collaborating, I think is really, really important. And so, so I'd hope that the young people would actually be able to find the time and opportunities to do that and to keep growing. And lastly, never stop learning. I mean, there's never a time where you get to a place where you think you know it all. I'm still learning. And there's new things that are being discovered every day. There's new technologies that are coming up. So I'd encourage young people to just get on a growth trajectory that always keeps learning, and keep your mind always on there's always something new and I want to learn. Just if you keep learning, then it means that you'll actually always be relevant, as it were.
Absolutely. Yeah, you never stop learning. And we're so lucky to be learning from so many inspiring youth around the world with beVisioneers. So you mentioned there the youth in the African green economy, and there's a lot you're doing there with Jacob's Ladder. I'm just curious, do you have any sort of key case studies or key projects that really stand out for you in terms of what you did there? And if so, we'd love to hear about one of the successes.
A few months ago, we came together with one of the leading technology schools in Kenya, and we proposed to do a hackathon that was a combination of climate and technology. And the thinking was, let's push young people to see, yes, you have some tech skills, but let's push to see what you can do from a technology perspective, from a climate perspective. And for me, what blew my mind is just to watch these young people really go into their communities and actually come up with problems that affect their own communities. And so, we had a range of solutions that range from smart waste collection to food systems that are regenerative. And now some kids are starting to look at carbon markets and how they could utilize those. But what was interesting about that project was just giving them, telling the kids, here's a challenge. We need you to look at climate. Yes, we know you're tech savvy, but we need you to look at climate and begin to see how you can apply your tech skills into that. Brought out some really interesting solutions, but more so was the questions that the kids ask, and they still continue to ask us, because they still continue to say, okay, we'd never seen this world. Now we want to learn more about carbon. We want to learn more about this climate change. We want to learn more about the carbon markets, as it were. And so that ability to now see how they are growing and now saying, okay, actually, now that we've learned so much, we want to pivot our ideas because we want them to reflect certain things that we are learning. And so there's a particular project right now, they're still in the works, but then it's a combination of how can they use mangrove areas, for example, in the coastal parts of Kenya as carbon storage, and how do they work with communities in those areas to help them become, carbon keepers. And why that's very profound for me was because the team that's doing this are based in Nairobi, had never really thought about the mangrove ecosystem, but because of this challenge and getting to learn more about how carbon works, how the carbon markets work, how carbon storage works, and then thinking about the country and saying, okay, what resources exist in our country and how can we utilize our technology to bring that to bear, has been really amazing. And so it goes back to this thinking about the potential that's in young people. And sometimes it takes us pushing them a little bit in the right direction, and then they begin to just open their minds and explore and expand. And we see some really amazing things coming out of it.
Oh my word, that sounds amazing. I love that term, mangrove carbon keepers. That is awesome. And yeah, sparking curiosity is just absolutely essential to help us come up with such creative solutions. So that sounds wonderful. I can't wait to hear more about that project. And as it advances, I'll be sure to keep an eye out for that one. So Bilha, we'll just finish things off with, where do you want to see the world in 2030? Which isn't far.
Not too far, 7 years. There's lots of things for us to solve for. And I reckon we will not necessarily be able to solve for everything till the close of the century. But I think it would be great if over the next 7 years, the world has really come to this place where it recognizes the need, and we're getting there, but there's a greater recognition of the need to fight climate change. And now for me, more specifically speaking as an African, the question is, hopefully seeing Africa playing a really key role as far as that climate action is concerned. And so there are many reasons why I speak to this. When I think about Africa, it's very well positioned to provide solutions to the climate problem. So everything from the fact that we have lots of renewable energy potential to a lot of the minerals that are required in this green revolution or sit in the African continent. We have lots of young people, lots of land. It's just a lot of things that the world needs to help it decarbonize. And so it'd be great by 2030 if Africa is well on its way to being a leading solutions provider to climate action, and really leading the charge as to how green economy will work, green manufacturing, and some of these cutting edge conversations and discussions as far as fighting climate are concerned. It would be great if Africa is actually sitting at the table and leading a lot of those discussions. And for me, with that happening, I would imagine we're now building a really robust green economy that then means that you have lots of young people, especially young Africans, who are part of that green economy or creating jobs or creating businesses that are part of that green economy. So in overall, it's a world that has taken the challenge of climate change really seriously and doing everything that it can. And more importantly, Africa playing a really, a key role in making sure that it provides solutions that it can provide and transforms livelihoods in the process.
Thank you, Bilha. I mean, you're such a role model for young African aspiring planet positive leaders. So yeah, and I love how well you're representing your nation. So thank you. And just to let everyone know that we are expanding into other African countries for next year's cohort. So watch this space. Yeah. Thank you so much, Bilha, for sharing that. Really appreciated. Well, we will call it there, Bilha, and let you get on with your busy schedule and all the amazing projects that you're working on. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us and for being part of our journey and representing Africa so well. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Zoe. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I look forward to seeing how the fellowship grows and the amazing things that our young beVisioneers will be able to do and achieve. Thank you so much.
Us too. Thank you very much, Bilha. Take care now. Bye.